Hi, everyone. This is Charles Hoskinson broadcasting live from warm, sunny Colorado. Always warm, always sunny. Sometimes Colorado. Today is April 27th, 2023. And I'm making a video talk a little bit about my favorite topic. Well, not really, but as of late has been politics. Good old politics, politics, politics. So, those of you who follow me for a long time know that politically I lean libertarian, not Republican, not Democrat. Same wings of the same bird, but libertarian. And I believe in live and let live and basically maximizing economic freedom, personal privacy, and property rights. Now, this ethos is fairly compatible with the technology we work with and the licenses we work with because we basically say, here's crypto, good luck. And what you do with it is your prerogative, and you're in charge of it. So this is probably the most libertarian software that anybody's ever conceived. For a long time, that really had no bearing on the political perception, day-to-day regulatory experience, or operations of crypto companies. In the last two administrations in particular, though, the tail end of the Trump administration and now the Biden administration, things have gotten exceedingly political with crypto, to the extent where many on the left feel that crypto is alt-right. That's not my words. These are words from The Atlantic, the New York Times, and other opinion leaders. And it's being reflected in reports written by and endorsed by the Biden White House, and being reflected in regulatory enforcement. Uh, Companies are told to come in and register. They can't physically do it. It's acknowledged by the U.S. House of Representatives and all the companies that have tried. And there's an unusually harsh punishment that's occurring both directly and indirectly. Operation Choke Point 2.0, for example, is quickly removing all U.S. banking of crypto companies. That's just happening, and people are publishing reports on numerous bases. Custodia, a full reserve bank operating completely legally under the law in the state of Wyoming, was given the largest rejection letter in the history of rejection letters by the Federal Reserve when they applied for a master account. There's been a lot of misinformation, fear, and lies that have come through. And this is just unsolicited. The industry is trying its best to comply. And for the most part, the vast majority of the members of the industry are looking for clarity and looking for ways to operate within the integrity and principles of the system. It is not optional if your intention is decentralization and your intention is to be a free open protocol for people to say that the only way to comply is to be a bank and completely centralize these protocols was a single point of control nexus in the United States, even if you have no US customers and you have no US business. But yet, this is what basically we're being told in this industry. It's very difficult to navigate these waters. And I think, at least on our side, we've done pretty good. But for the most part, the industry as a whole is deeply frustrated. Another thing that's deeply frustrating to me is that the institutions that we rely upon to be independent and objective and call truth to power are deeply compromised. And those institutions are no longer holding people who are acting unaccountable to account. For example, recently I posted a video mocking President Biden where he was at a press conference and camera was able to get a view of his hand and podium, and it showed that the questions he's being asked by the media are already pre-asked and pre-answered. I can't think, regardless of your politics, a worse example of media corruption than the fact that the media is working directly with the person they're trying to hold to account and telling them what they're going to ask and giving them an opportunity to answer it in the best possible way after the question's been sanitized. This is not an independent media. And unfortunately, the mainstream media of the United States in particular has started to take a mocking tone to cryptocurrencies and the blockchain industry and a very dismissive tone to us, parroting whatever orthodoxy has been pushed through. What this does is it effectively makes it more difficult for this industry to act and operate. I firmly believe that while the protocols should not be political, the use cases of the protocols do end up becoming political because they really do expose problems with the ways things are, the way you vote, the way your money works, the way banks work, the way payment protocols work, the way credentialing works, the way land registration works, the way supply chains work, the way record keeping is done, and ultimately the aggregators who have control over that. The inconvenient truth of the cryptocurrency space is that we actually do have a much better way, for the most part, of governing the things around us and for us. However, the issue is that our mere existence is a threat to the system as it stands today. I don't really believe if we had a Republican president that things would be materially different in the United States at this juncture. It is true that while many Republicans are avid supporters of the blockchain caucus, I will remind you that Clayton was the Securities Exchange Commission director, chairman, uh, who was responsible for the Ripple enforcement action. And while it's gotten more aggressive, uh, there were plenty of people in the Trump administration, such as Secretary Mnuchin, who were anti crypto and felt that it had no use case and should be heavily regulated or banned. So we can't live in a delusion that this is a partisan issue and Democrats hate crypto and Republicans love crypto. There are certainly people on both sides, right now, more on the right than the left, especially after FTX, because it appears that the donors associated with FTX leaned left instead of right. And it's a political issue because they can humiliate and embarrass people. But for the most part, policy does seem to be moving between authoritarian and non authoritarian. There are many people, regardless of their political affiliations and beliefs, whether they're as woke as you can get or as gun toting conservative as you can get, who would like life to be in their remit, meaning they're in control of their life. They're self sovereign. They have a say in their identity, their data, their voice, their vote, and they're not erased by AI or heartless corporations or by an uncaring government. And those people should not be grouped according to whether they're team red or blue, and we pick a side and we discount the other. The reality is, we're all one global group. We're all humans, and we all want to be treated fairly. And we all want to be treated with equality, meaning we want to be treated as humans with basic rights and dignity. There is no greater dignity than economic agency when capitalism is king. And the reality is, over 3 billion people in the world do not have it. They just don't. And they have to struggle every day to integrate with our markets. Nation states at times lack it, especially small countries that are non BIS members that have to contend with a small group of central banks mandating their monetary policy and getting caught in the tailwinds of geopolitics. Just recently, China went to Argentina and got them to start settling Chinese trade in yuan instead of the dollar. These big deals are two superpowers, the United States and China, fighting each other for the future world reserve currency. The dialogue is wholesale unproductive because it just basically says, which economic system would you like to be in control of your life? When we should really be saying, how do we build a transnational decentralized standard where no one is in control? That's the great inconvenient truth of cryptocurrencies, is they call truth the power. They're faceless. Whether I'm here or not, whether Satoshi's here or not, Vitalik's here or not, Gavin's here or not, doesn't really matter. The faces change, the names change. The philosophy and concepts of freedom and liberty, the philosophy and concepts of self-sovereign identity and decentralization, resilience, being your own bank, being in charge of your own life, those are the things that endure. And once people realize that there is a third option between one empire and another, that we actually can evolve as a race and move forward into higher grounds, they start demanding it. The next 20 years are going to be the most transformative in the history of humanity. As we stare down the dawn of GPT, as we take a look at the ever advancing technologies that are massively disruptive, the consequences of the internet getting more pervasive, IoT getting more pervasive, and governments starting to understand these tools at a level that they're using them to control people's lives, like CBDCs and social credit, we're going to go from passive observers to cool and interesting innovations to the recipients of the heavens and hells that they create. My career for the last 10 years has been about freedom. I've spent as much time as a human can spend getting papers written and open source, software written and open source, and trying to teach as many people as possible that freedom is the way, and you should be in control of your own life. You can look no further than the actions of SIP 1694 on Cardano, where we're literally constructing together a government with a constitution, delegated representatives, stake pool operators, and all kinds of checks and balances and layers and control through an open deliberative process, which will ultimately be approved by all the ADA holders and their assigns. This is a microcosm of a desire to change the way things are governed across the world. I would like to believe that we can converge to a world where we get rid of CEOs and kings and presidents, and we get to a world of decentralization where we have a lot more say and control over how we're treated, who we do business with, and the conduct of that business and the ethics of that business. The only systems that can give you those guarantees are digital systems. And the only systems that can give those guarantees outside of nation states are cryptocurrencies and blockchains. And don't allow people to fool you into thinking that CBDCs and federated blockchains somehow are an equivalent solution. It's a poison chalice that if you take a drink from, you shall never recover from, because they are tools of control and domination once properly configured. The politics of division, especially in the United States, are done on purpose. The reality is that there is no Republican or Democrat. The party leaders mostly agree on the same things. It's why they keep doing the same things, regardless of who's in power. Where they disagree are pre-selected wedge issues, which are absurdity. And they're designed to be amplified and make you angry and make you hate people you've never met and never interacted with. People that if you didn't even know their politics, you probably would get along with and have a beer with at the bar. Politics of personal destruction and division, they're very useful to keep all of us in a state of constant fear, anger, hatred, and ultimately to be fragmented. Because in division, there is conquest. In unity, there is strength. As Abraham Lincoln said, a house divided cannot stand. And we are more divided than we've ever been. You don't have to look to your own personal politics to recognize that the media is compromised. And the question shouldn't be, well, Trump got this, or I agree with this, so it's okay. It should be why? Well, because the vast majority of them are owned by a small handful of actors who all get along with each other, and they represent different flavors. We've seen this before in World Wrestling. You had Macho Man Randy Savage and the Hulk and Jake the Snake, Andre the Giant, and they all play their fantasies. We call it kayfabe. Now, they all knew wrestling's fake, but the rule of the game was you could never admit that it is. And that's what we see today. The politicians that are in Washington, the vast majority of them, they don't really believe all the things that come out of their mouth, but they say it, and they say it with conviction, because just like Macho Man or the Hulk or the others, that's how the game is supposed to be played. And you're supposed to get angry. You're supposed to be filled with hate, and you're supposed to believe a fantasy that if only your team wins, everything is going to be amazing and better, and we're all going to be okay. Real change comes when we have systems that prevent us from being evil. Real change comes when we have systems that can't be evil by design, when we have systems mathematically that enforce your rights. That's why the cryptocurrency industry is so dangerous at its core. Because once people realize that truth, they seek nothing but it. They can't go back into Plato's cave and think shadows are reality. They realize that the world is a little different, a little bigger, and actually much better. Because once you live in a world where you can trust institutions and you can trust people, you can start loving people instead of hating people. You can start working with people. And even though people are flawed, you can see the best in people. You can see what people are good at. Those people you disagree with, some of them are great woodworkers. Some of them are magical painters. Some of them play a musical instrument. And if you ran into them at a bar playing it, tear would come to your eye. Some of those people are good husbands, and some of those people are good mothers. They've raised kids. Some of those people have cancer. Some of those people are caring for a person with cancer. They live lives that are intricate and deep and complex and have their own pains and problems, just like you. And the only reason you seem to hate them, dehumanize them, is because a magic box told you to. Somehow that will make the world better. No, it doesn't. It just strips you of what makes you human, and it makes you no longer capable of the empathy required to get humanity to the next level. I firmly believe in a better future, and I do believe we're going to win. It's going to take a long road, and we're going to have to deal with the fact that there are many obstacles. The last 14 years have been really challenging if you think about it. We've had Bitcoin declared dead probably more than 300 times. We've had famous economists like Paul Krugman declare that everything we do is folly, and only by tomorrow will people wake up and realize, and Bitcoin goes to zero, crypto goes to zero, and everybody will just move on. And we've had many false prophets go and try to co-opt things. All we really have to do is be aware of first principles, trust each other and love each other, but hold each other accountable. The math will get us through. And also, we have to learn how to take a time out. Not everything is political, and not everything should be political. At the end of the day, all we really should ask for is a better tomorrow. So thanks for listening, and I hope I at least reached a few of you. Cheers.